the Nets signed Millsap. Aldridge is also coming back from retirement. He has been cleared after his irregular beat that was discovered last year that forced him to retire. And the Lakers are getting DeAndre Jordan after he completes his buyout. It just looks like it's inevitable. We are going to see a Nets versus Lakers final, barring anything surprising happening, barring any trades or any, crazy stuff happening, any injuries, any retirements, anything crazy. It looks like we're heading for Nets versus Lakers final. First I want to say I'm glad LaMarcus Aldridge is back. Retiring because of heart concerns is never. You never want to see a player go out on not his own terms. Like, obviously, if there was health concerns, he had to retire. He couldn't, just play with his life like that. It was sad to see him retire, but it's great to see him back. He said he's been cleared by not only the doctor by the Nets, but his own doctor, numerous doctors. So it looks like he is fine. Whatever he had has been, cleared or it's gotten better. So that's good for LaMarcus Aldridge. He's had an underrated career. He's been, he's been good with the Spurs. He's been good with the Trailblazers. We'll see how good he's with the Nets. Really, really solid career that he's had. You can't really frown on LaMarcus Aldridge for the great career that he's had. So it's kind of upsetting. It was kind of sad to see him go out on, some medical reasons. So now he gets to come back, have his proper goodbye. We'll see how long he plays for the Nets. It is a 1-year, $2.6 million deal. So, but I do think if he is cleared for these heart concerns, he could be back for multiple years. It's not just a 1-year thing. It's a 1-year contract, but I could see LaMarcus Aldridge playing, like 1 or 2 more years. And Millsap also signs with the Nets. He didn't score double digits points, I think, for the first time in his career, or like for the first time in like 8-10 years. Last year with the Nuggets, but I think he still brings bettering leadership. He's that tweener that could play, power forward, or he could be a small center, and he can still move a little bit. So decent signing for the Nets, both of them, Aldridge and Millsap. Lakers get DeAndre Jordan, or they're gonna get him after the buyout. So not a bad pickup. Jordan, he is old. He's like an old 32, I believe. So he's lost a lot of that athleticism, but he can still play above the rim. And if anything, he just adds to that rotation with Dwight Howard. We'll see. I think they're saying that this means that Marc Gasol is going to be gone. So, we'll see how that plays out. Marc Gasol, I've liked him throughout his career. Defensive Player of the Year, winner with Toronto, great passer, a tall 7-footer. But I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't think we're losing too much just from watching him play last year. So if it's Jordan for Gasol, I don't think it's like we should be like, oh no, keep Gasol. I would say Gasol adds a little variety to the Lakers' front court position. He could stretch the floor a little bit. He's a great passer, so it's a little different. If you want to have players that are not just all similar, I think Gasol brings a little different. But he is, he does have bricks on his feet right now. He can't move. He's a liability. And Jordan, he can move a little bit better. But what I'm getting from this is just players, veterans in the NBA have, highlighted the Nets and the Lakers as, the two front runners. And everybody's ring chasing, and everybody just wants to be along for the ride. And I don't blame Millsap. I don't blame Aldridge signing back with the Nets. If DeAndre Jordan signs with the Lakers, I don't blame him. Ex-Clipper, he was with the Nets. He fell out of the rotation. I don't blame any of these guys. But it keeps reiterating the point that we're in a collision course for the Nets versus the Lakers. And it also I feel like this just makes the Nets and the Lakers, like, if people already hated the Nets and the Lakers, they already hated their super teams or whatever you want to call them. They already hated that they're attracting a bunch of players on minimum. They're already hating that they have a lot of depth. I think this just keeps driving that down that now. And the Nets and the Lakers our public enemy number one, and rightfully so. If I wasn't a Laker fan, if I wasn't a Nets, I'm not a Net fan, but if I wasn't a Laker fan, I could totally see, even now that I'm a Laker fan, I could totally see how teams would be looking at all these signings, all these players signing for minimums, and thinking like, bruh, like, come on, stop it. Like, but it is what it is. That's the league that we're in today. And I just think the NBA is basically gonna be the Nets and the Lakers against the rest of the field. Like, I could see if the Nets or the Lakers get eliminated in the playoffs, I could definitely see all the other fan bases just rallying together, rooting for whoever is playing against these teams. So we'll see how it plays out. Ultimately, I don't think Millsap, Aldridge, or DeAndre Jordan are moving the needle too much. I don't think this puts any of these teams over the hump. I don't think this really does much to anything. I don't think any Laker fan or any Net fan is looking at these signings and saying, "Oh, you know what? Like, that's it." Like, if we were competing, if there was any, if we thought that, if we were scared of any of the teams in our conference or in the NBA, I don't think this brings like a lot of comfort. They're good signings. Obviously, no one's really frowning at these signings. As a Lakers fan, it's like, okay, we got DeAndre Jordan. Let's see what he could bring. If he could protect the rim, that'd be great. If he could play above the rim, go up for, alley-oops, that'd be great. And I'm sure Nets fans are thinking the same thing along Aldridge. If he could give us a solid 10 minutes, stretch the floor, be a good passer, Millsap too, be that tenacity guy, go for rebounds, be able to switch on some players, just be a savvy veteran. We'll be cool. We'll like him. We'll take him in. We'll cheer for them. Like, it's a solid signing as your 10th, 11th man player on your rotation. It's all good. It's all good. But I don't think anyone's like, oh man, we got Millsap, we got Aldridge, like, let's go. Like, that's it. Nets champions. Like, if you already thought the Nets were gonna be the clear champions, then you still think that. And if you thought, it's a coin flip, the Nets and the Lakers, you probably still think it's a coin flip. And if you thought there was more teams like in the discussion, if you thought, oh, it's gonna be the Nets and the Bucks and the Sixers or somebody else, you don't think like, oh, Millsap and Aldridge, the Bucks don't have a chance anymore. Pretty much what you thought already is still the same. These signings aren't moving the needle, in my opinion. Let me know if you guys think this just makes the Nets super overpowered or this makes the Lakers super overpowered. I don't think it does. I think it'll get a lot of attention because of the names. All these players were all-stars at some point in their career. But I think they're in the tail end of their career, and I don't think they move that needle too much. But I do think this just adds more to the fire of all the other 28 teams in the NBA just rallying together and saying, like, you know what? Like, fuck these guys. Like, I can't wait till the Nets lose. Or I can't wait till the Lakers lose. I could totally see that. I could totally see all the fan bases just being like, okay, like, bro, are they going to get everybody? Like, what's going on? The retirement team for the Lakers. How much help does KD need? Like, all these things, like, this just adds to it. It just adds to it, and I get it. But in my opinion, I don't think these signings do much for either team. 5-10 minutes, 10-15 minutes for all these guys. They'll have their moments, but realistically, I don't think this does too much for either team.